All right, so I want to talk about pooping now. Let's talk about pooping because I don't know who needs to hear this, but squatting is actually the healthiest way to poop. And when I say squats, I mean fully squat, not just hovering over the toilet type of squat. I mean a full, all the way down, feet firmly planted, knees fully bent, bum all the way down type of squat. Like that kind of, what people now call an Asian squat. That kind of squatting all the way down is the healthiest way to poop. And here's the thing, I was looking into this and you might have noticed already. In fact, it seems kind of obvious that, before toilets, that's how people pooped. Like that's how people defecated. They dug a hole in the ground or maybe gathered some leaves or whatever, squatted and then pooped. And that's what people did for, however many centuries or whatever it was. But people squatted down and just pooped, right? Now, somewhere along the lines, it started to be seen as more dignified to sit down. Probably something to do with, upper class people and commodes or something like that. But at some point, it just became seen as being more dignified to be sitting down rather than squatting like a commoner. It got seen as more dignified. And then when the flushing toilets were invented, due to the limitations of the technology at the time, they had to be seated toilets. You couldn't build them into the ground back then. I mean, nowadays you can make flushing toilets that are built into the ground and you can squat over them. But back then, the only flushing toilets were seated. So it became a more common thing that way. But it wasn't because it was a healthier way to poop. It was just more down to how society viewed sitting versus squatting and the fact that flushing toilets just had to be seated. But in actuality, it is actually healthier to squat all the way down when pooping because it relaxes the muscles around the area, which means you don't have to force as much when pooping. It comes out easier, which means you're less likely to have doo-doo residue left behind and you're less likely to develop things like hemorrhoids and stuff like that. Now, of course, by now, most of us, or at least most people in the Eurocentric Western world, have seated toilets, and it would not be a good idea to perch yourself on top of a seated toilet and try to squat all the way down on top of it. Don't do that. You're gonna hurt yourself. You'd fall, and it'd be a mess. You just be covered in blood and doo-doo juice. Like, just don't do that. But what you can do is sit down and then get a stool or anything that you can put your feet on, then rest your feet on top of it to put your knees up, and that kind of mimics the position of being squatted, and then do it that way. It's like the next best thing. So to summarize this whole video, most of us are pooping wrong.